Hey folks, this is Alfred Toole. I am the Learning Technology Integrator at Western, and this presentation or PD can be found at the bit.ly found above. It's called YouTube. My goal for this session is to share 10 plus ways that YouTube can enhance learning. The essential question is, how can YouTube be of use to me? First thing I want to point out is that you can use a countdown timer in YouTube, and so basically what I do is I go to YouTube, do a search. You can do it with music or without. Look, so what I would do is go to YouTube, do a search for a timer. You can see they have a whole bunch of creative ones, some with music, some without. That's your own personal preference. You can put this in your slide deck for Google Slides and have it play in the background, and that way you can keep time. You could also have it running during a Zoom. So after using a timer, and here's an example of this one, 10 minutes, lecture 5. The next thing I would encourage you to do, if you've never done this before, is to add timestamps to your videos. Basically, this is a very useful tool for breaking up stuff and giving your students a table of contents to your video when you want them to have a table of contents. This might be a great resource for scaffolding, might be a way to break up videos so that you stitch together. If you notice to the right, here's what I do in the description section. You must start with zeros, and then you put them in sequential order. And then I'm going to show you an example from one of my videos. So in this example, I have 4 timestamps that would show up in my video. If I wanted to do for a minute, I would do it like this, 0, 1, and then this would show at a minute 38, and I would say blah, blah, blah. I don't know what it would be called. But in the actual video, you'll notice that when you play the video itself, and I'll show you that if I come along this timeline, you'll see these little breaks, and they have little titles that show up in there, and that's what I put in the description. Remember to save your work when you put these in. And the next thing I want to talk about is this picture within a picture. So if you go to YouTube, there are 2 stipulations with picture in a picture. One, you have to be using Chrome and version 70 plus. Most of them are if they're updated. And again, so you have to be using Chrome. And what I'll show you is you're going to right click 2 times on a video, and what it'll do is allow you to put a picture within a picture. This is useful for when you're doing, say, some kind of tutorial or step-by-step, and you don't have to be switching back and forth. You can have the YouTube video stay up on the screen. So here's what it looks like on YouTube. So here's my YouTube video. Again, I'm using Chrome for my browser, and I am going to right-click, and I'm going to right-click again, and you'll notice this picture within a picture that shows up right here. Now, in the bottom right, this is my picture within a picture. And let's say I was working on a document here. You notice this picture still stays here, and I can play this. And while this plays, I could do my work. Very useful feature that I found, just allows me to stop from switching back and forth. But again, that's picture within a picture. The next thing I want to talk about is creating a playlist. And the key thing to point out for this is when you're doing a playlist, or you want a video to be made available on a playlist, you must make sure that you say not made for kids. Kids videos or videos made for kids can't be put on a playlist. But basically, if you're watching stuff and you see a bunch of resources you think are great for your students and you want to put them together on a playlist, you would basically go to the video, and below the video click save. Again, if it's not made for kids, you should be able to save it. Here's an example of what that looks like. So if you like a lot of these videos from this Digital Learning Summit, you can come over here and you can click Save. And then you can see that I have playlists for all kinds of stuff. Things that are related to my house, my home, any of those kind of things, as well as education. But in this case, you could take your tech how-to videos and put them together and string together a list of your favorites. Save. And then choose create new playlist. If you don't like any of these, you can create your own and enter it in. From there, you can use this to put together stuff for your students, say on a particular unit like World War I, and you got a bunch of primary sources or good PBS videos or something, you can string them together. The next thing I found useful in addition to creating a playlist was being able to open up the transcript to a video. There are a lot of times for grad work where we have been encouraged to watch videos and then have questions answered. I will open up the transcript, and you can do this by clicking the three dots and choose Open Transcripts for videos that have them. And then what it is it gives you a timeline of all the texts in the video, which might be useful for taking notes or making an argument or position. Here's what it looks like on YouTube. So you can see here I have this video and I want to know what's going on so I can take notes. I'm going to come over here to the three dots right here, left click, choose Open Transcript. And voila, you'll see a timestamp. And notice what happens if I click right here. It moves to that part of the video, and I can copy and paste stuff as I need to. Anyway, I love this feature because it allows me to get notes. The next thing I want to talk about is using analytics in YouTube. And so if you've never used analytics, this is a good time to start. Here's why I would use analytics. First, it'll tell you who's watching your videos. So when you set up your videos and YouTube, you can check the traffic source, the number of views, the watch time, which means how long people actually stay on your video, and you can also see who's subscribing to your channel. Where is it? So if I'm in YouTube Studio, if I come over here, there are a couple ways to find it. I can click this little icon right here, and that'll give me YouTube Analytics, or I can come over here. If I am below a video of mine, I can look below and I can either click on this to get to analytics. So what does it tell me? Well, it tells me at least three things: the number of clicks, and so when you click on analytics, this is a generic dashboard. The second thing it's going to tell you is how long they've been watching your video, and the third thing that it will pay attention to is if they joined your channel. One of the key things that I would tell you, though, if you're going to use analytics and you want to see the traffic, is instead of embedding the video, I would strongly encourage you to link to the video, because that allows it to play on YouTube, and that's where the analytics come from. If you have it embedded, it's not going to show up in your clicks. So I'm in YouTube Studio, and what I would do is I would come down here to Analytics, left click on it, and let's say this is going to show you for my entire channel what's going on, and so this is how I would get to my analytics. And you can see the information it shows here in real time. The next thing I would throw out for a tip is to add VR to your classroom experiences. There are a lot of things out there, and you don't have to have the kits and all the fancy stuff. You can just do some things that I think are pretty cool. What I did in this presentation was I created a few of the common ones. There are some puzzles out there. There are famous events and places where people go hiking, parts where you can look inside the body, historical places. And so, for example, if I were doing foreign language and I wanted my students to go to Paris, because I teach French, and I wanted them to see the Tower Eiffel, I would do this. I would go to YouTube and I would type in Paris and maybe VR or 360 or some of those kind of buzzwords. And then here's a video that takes me to Paris. So here's what it looks like, just so you can see it. So I'm going to hit play. And you'll notice I'm doing this to the video. I can move around. So imagine what it would be like if you were using this. If you were using this in your classroom, to not just for like field trips and those kind of things, but you were taking this, if I wanted to practice some vocabulary for my foreign language class, then I would go through and I would tour the city and I would have them talk about things that they see. Anyway, this is an amazing resource that's available for you. And so again, I would say take a look at some of the VR stuff that's out there. For this, I talk about life without Edpuzzle or Nearpod, because maybe you're one of those people that your school hasn't paid for that yet. And so this is what I would do before Edpuzzle or Nearpod came around. So what I would do is use slides, and then I would format my video so that I could control the start and end times, and then I would put the same video stretched out over 3 or 4 slides with different starts and end times. I would also connect that with a Google form, and so when I'm using the Google form, I could put that as a place for them to answer the questions as the video is paused or stopped. And so this is basically what it is. You left click on the video first, and then you're going to go up here to format second, and then the third thing is you would put in your start and end times. I would also strongly encourage you to use Schoology's assessment. What you can do there is take the same video, embed it into an assessment question, and then you can get analytics from the assessments as far as seeing what students talk about. Again, this is one of the ways that I would use YouTube with my Schoology learning management system. And so here are the steps on how to do it. And so that was one way of doing it. I talked about assessments, and in this one I'm showing you how to put a YouTube video into a discussion question, which is one of the things I think is also good for YouTube. With YouTube, I would use it for academic purposes, but I would also use YouTube videos to build community. That's still a very vital part of your classroom in developing that culture. And so you can use it to give students shared experiences, or you can use it to prompt some kind of discussion to get things going. When you are playing a video in Zoom on YouTube, just make sure, and this is a general reminder, I know most of you probably already do this, but make sure you share your sound and you optimize the video clip. And that's when you click the share screen button. You want to select these two buttons. The other thing is, if you sometimes forget, just click on the more button and use the 3 dots, and then come down here to where it says share sound and optimize, and you can do it from here. But sometimes we need that little extra help, and that's where that's for. Another feature that some people have started using with YouTube is cards. And so what you can do in your YouTube video is you can put 5 cards in sprinkled throughout your video. You could also put end cards in, which allow you to see suggested videos, or this little I button that you see in a lot of YouTube videos. That's what it is. They're using cards. So you can link to another channel, a playlist, or a website. Just think about what that would look like if you were curating a bunch of math resources and you put them together on a playlist. And then from there, you started linking them to certain websites that you thought were also useful on the same thing. This is really a really cool thing to do if you're doing a flipped classroom. I think this is a great resource. So I include how to do it, and to sake of time, I'm just going to move forward, but here are the steps for it. And so I would make sure that you feel pretty good about that. Here's how to put it in as a discussion. And then I would also encourage you to use premieres, which means you set your video to start at a certain date in the future. That gives them a watch countdown, and you could do something that would be fun for your kids. Maybe it is that you stitch together like some kind of community thing, and you put the countdown in because you had students submit to you stuff, and you put together a little video introducing your students. Again, have some fun with YouTube. Don't just use it strictly for, like, here's the academic pieces. Use it to build community with your students. One of the things that I also stuck in is because I could always forget the difference between public, private, and unlisted, particularly private and unlisted. So here's what this shows you, the difference between the two. Another key feature I found useful is if I am going to be putting out videos where I flip my classroom and do small bite-sized videos for instruction, I am going to disable comments. Maybe you have a thicker skull or skin or whatever it is and you don't mind, but I just wanted to make sure you had the steps for how to disable comments on your PC and also on your cell phone. And so this guy talks about both of those in his videos. The last thing I want to share with you, and I don't have time for this, but I do want you to be aware that YouTube has a basic editor in its midst. It's not going to have all the bells and whistles, but it does allow you to do some basic things. And so you can trim clips, you can split, you can add one single track of audio, and you can blur things out of your video. That's about it. So I wouldn't use it to do an extensive amount of things, but on the fly, this is a pretty good video editor for you. So let me show you how to get there, and then you can watch this video to learn how to do it. So here's how you would get there. So what I would do is pull up one of my videos, and I would come over here to editor, and then you'll notice you get this basic timeline right here. So again, I'm in YouTube Studio, and then I chose one of my videos and went to editor. And then these, as I said, there's not a lot you can do here, but there's enough that you could do stuff on the fly. So you can trim your clips here. You can put a single audio track by clicking this. This is how you can blur, and it allows you to do a customized blur as well. You can play with that. And then you can also put cards in, and that's why this is here as well. But again, there's not a lot that you can do, but there's enough there that if you needed to do something in a pinch, you could use this editor. And then once you're done with your changes, make sure you hit save. So this is a reminder how to get there, and then also the basic things you can do in the video editor. Some other things that I want to make sure that are really cool about YouTube is that there are a lot of really cool channels and things that you can do. And so here's some things that I would say from Ditch That Textbook that you could do in your classroom with your students on YouTube. And so these are linked, and you can explore them at your leisure. These are some of the most watched channels that deal with education on YouTube, and so I'll put these in here for you as well as a resource. I wanted to say thanks for your time. I know it went a little longer than usual, but I think this is a very useful resource for a lot of people. There's my contact information up there at the top, and if you would complete this exit ticket right here, that would be a great help for me. And again, if you wanted to see this presentation, here's where it's located on the bit.ly. Thanks for your time. Enjoy your day. I appreciate all that you guys do for students.